inside, which only added to my frustration and concern. I ended up taking my son to the hospital by myself, with the help of our neighbor, and later AITA for getting mad at my husband because he laughed when I told him to reheat his own dinner. For context, I'm a Psalm with 2 kids, 3 years old and Amp, 6 months old. My husband is an ambulance driver. He works odd hours and comes home unexpectedly. He expects dinner or lunch ready. Am I the asshole for getting upset when my husband laughed at the idea of him reheating his own dinner? In the context of our household, I'm a stay-at-home mom to our 2 children, 3 years old and 6 months old. My husband works as an ambulance driver and has a demanding schedule, often coming home unexpectedly. He's grown accustomed to having a meal or lunch ready whenever he walks through the door, regardless of my sleep schedule or the demands of caring for the kids. While I appreciate his hard work, I've found this expectation exhausting. Recently, my mom suggested that I start preparing meals in advance to make things easier for both of us. I spent 2 days grocery shopping and cooking meals, which are now stored in the fridge. I was relieved to finally have a chance to rest without being woken up by his frequent homecomings. However, last night was a different story. My husband came home from work around 11 p.m., and I was fast asleep after putting the baby down. I was awoken by his shouting in the living room, and when I rushed out to see what was wrong, he told me he was hungry and wanted dinner. I pointed out that the meal was already prepared and all he had to do was reheat. AITA for responding to my father's request for a relationship with a detailed PowerPoint on why he will never be forgiven. If I'm the AH here, I'll own it. I'm not sorry, but like it would be good to know because the rest of my family thinks this went too far. Mike, 24F. A question of boundaries. When forgiveness becomes unattainable, I'm still trying to figure out if I went too far, so I'll own it if I'm the one in the wrong. My response to my father's plea for a relationship may have been more than he bargained for. I lost my mother to leukemia when I was just 7 years old. I have faint memories of our time together before she fell ill, and the last year of her life was a blur. However, she was an artist, and she made me little collages with drawings, photos, and messages that I could hold onto. These treasured keepsakes have become a part of me, and I've continued to create similar works of art as a way to cope with my emotions. My grandmother compiled these collages into a book for me after my mother passed away. I wanted to follow in her footsteps, so I started a journal where I could express myself creatively and document my thoughts and feelings over the years. This has become a unique record of my mental state, with at least 1 entry per week for the past 16 years. When I was 9, my father remarried, and my stepmother took on a maternal role that I never felt comfortable with. TIFU by owning a huge box of expired condoms. For context, my mom moved houses and during the move she and my sister found a huge box of expired condoms in my old room. I haven't lived at my mom's since I was 18 and at the time I didn't have a girlfriend. So they were quite shocked. The unfortunate condom purchase when I was 14 years old, my family and I went on a vacation to an island off the coast of my home country. As the only children, my friend and I had a great deal of freedom, which at the time felt like a dream come true. However, this newfound independence also sparked an idea in me. I decided to take a proactive approach to preparing for my future and bought a pack of condoms. My friend accompanied me on the errand, and we made a stop at one of the island's 2 supermarkets. I chose this particular store because it was less crowded, but I soon realized that my purchase might raise some suspicions. To avoid drawing attention to myself, I also picked up a pack of gum. The cashier, who was a bit older than me, scanned the gum without issue, but things took a turn for the worse when she discovered the large box of condoms. The cashier initially scanned the gum, then the box, but seemed uncertain about the total. She even called for backup, which caused a significant delay and a growing line of impatient customers. When the backup cashier arrived, she too was taken aback by the large box, but eventually managed to scan it and inform me of the hefty price. MD, lady is convinced she owns our house, she tried to evict us, and is now sending her mail here to falsify proof of residence. Help please? Background. My husband and I bought a house in 2016 from a bank, as it had foreclosed upon the previous owner. About a year after we A persistent dispute over ownership background. My husband and I purchased our home in 2016 from a bank, which had previously foreclosed upon the original owner. Approximately a year after we moved in, the original owner appeared at our front door, claiming she owned the property and attempting to enter. She left after threatening to call the authorities, but returned 4 to 5 times over the next 18 months, repeating the same actions. The police were summoned once, and after we presented them with our closing contracts, they informed her it would be considered trespassing if she returned. The officer included a note in the paperwork stating she was not welcome on the property. Fortunately, she has not been back since then. We invested in a Ring doorbell and security cameras near our doors after the first 2 visits. And AMP X200B. This situation escalated in 2018 when the original owner attempted to have us evicted from the house we own, but she failed to appear in court due to listing our address as her own on the paperwork, therefore not receiving the necessary notice to appear. We were fortunate to have title insurance, which provided a free lawyer to represent us, and the judge ultimately dismissed the case with prejudice. About a year later, she repeated the same new hire misses most of the first 3 weeks of work, then uses me as a reference TL. Our neighbor, Karen, takes advantage of our company with outrageous claims, then uses us as a reference. We get our point across with creative wording. Karen continues to use us as a reference in The Art of Creative Reference Giving TLDR. Our company gets taken advantage of by a new hire who makes outlandish excuses for missing work, then uses us as a reference. We respond with creative wording, leaving her clueless. Let's call her Karen, a fitting moniker for the tale that unfolds. She came in for an interview, touting connections to some of my old neighborhood friends and schoolmates. We were impressed by her charm, so we offered her a job with a 9 a.m. Monday start date. Monday morning, Karen failed to appear. No call, no explanation. Tuesday followed suit, with Tuesday's absence being just as mysterious. Wednesday, she materialized around noon, claiming she'd been knocked unconscious by her brother's intense workout. No doctor's note, no visible injuries, but her story was so outlandish it almost seemed plausible. We let her return to work, thinking perhaps she'd learned a valuable lesson. She worked Thursday and Friday, collecting a full paycheck for the week. When she inquired about the payment, we explained our company's philosophy: taking care of our people and appreciating their lives outside of work. She tearfully thanked us, and we thought we'd made a positive AITA for insisting that my boyfriend pay me for breaking my $3,500 model ship. My F-33 dad passed away and left me